We are going to be talking about the big M marriage.
I knew that I was going to marry this guy because he made me laugh.
Why on earth would someone say love marriage? That doesn't mean anything. It's not love.
In Asian families, it is you marry the family because your whole relationship is with the family and the man is kind of the side bit.
Hi, welcome to Changing Suits. My name's Val.
And my name's Taj.
On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the big M. And I don't mean McDonald's, I mean marriage. Okay? I know, rubbish joke. Sorry, I had to get it in as soon as I said.
To be honest, I knew that we were going to talk about marriage, but when you said the big M, I was like, what's she talking about?
Yeah, I said big M and I was like, that's McDonald's. Okay, so marriage. We're going to start off with, since we are the Asians, and as soon as you say marriage in the Asian world, you tend to get the, oh, is yours arranged marriage or was it a love marriage? I've had that question a few times and I'm like, oh, none of your business, love. Anyway, so what does arranged marriage mean to you?
Well, arranged marriage, I'll talk from the outsider's point of view for someone that isn't Asian. When they say arranged marriage, they're probably thinking of how it used to be, probably even before our parents' time, where you basically met the person on the day and you're like, hey, let's get married. Well, actually, you didn't even have that. Your parents or whoever, the elders, would say, right, you're going to get married to this person. And the couple were like, yeah, we'll go for it. And there was no argument, you were doing it. And I think that's when someone says, did you have an arranged marriage? I think people still think that concept is still around now.
Well, it kind of is though, isn't it? Arranged marriage is where someone is sort of arranging it for, I know this sounds really dumb, arranging it for you. So where you have, we call it vajola, and, that it's that middle person that might know one family and the other, and then they bring the families together. But do you not think that the modern day arranged marriage is basically just social media? Like, the Tinders of the world and Bumble and all that sort of stuff.
Well, Auntie of the world rather than Tinder.
Exactly. So it's just a new version of an arranged marriage.
I wouldn't call it arranged marriage anymore. I'd call it introduction. But I think arranged marriage is just stuck because people used to have that arranged marriage.
Thank you for that clarification. What the hell?
So we know.
What does that mean?
Just so we know how we got into it, yeah.
Okay.
So for us, like, we were...
But then don't you find it funny when someone says love marriage? I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't even use that word with anybody. Like, anybody. Right? Why on earth would someone say love marriage? That doesn't mean anything.
Because the concept behind love marriage is that you had the freedom to choose the person that you got married to.
But it's not love.
But it's love meaning freedom, and arranged.
So call it a freedom marriage. Don't call it love marriage.
Yeah, but you won't call it a freedom marriage. And then the arranged marriage is you were forced into getting married to that person.
But
that's
okay,
what it means.
See, this is the thing. The arranged marriage, anyone says arranged marriage, it's like, oh, this is a forced marriage.
Yeah, that you do get a look like, oh my God, are you okay?
Like, yes, okay. I was forced into this. But yeah.
Well, we shouldn't laugh because that does happen to some people still in the UK and parts of the country. But for would I say now the British Asians or the Western Asians, and not even back in India, it doesn't happen like what it used to.
All right, so what? Okay, so what happened with you? Was it an arranged marriage or was it a love marriage?
I would say it was, I don't even know where to categorize it, because with us, I don't go clubbing and pubbing and places that I can meet someone socially, because I'm a hermit. No, I'm joking. Basically, I put my name on a list, a Godra list, and my husband done the same thing, and we went down the list and we looked at the pictures and we thought, hey, this person's good looking.
This is love.
This is the person. And we thought, yeah, I'll have their number. So the person across the table that were making the lists from the Godra,
otherwise known as Cupid,
gave you a number. And at that time, you could get a couple of numbers in a go. But now things have changed. You're only allowed one number at a time, which is really annoying.
How do you know? When was the last time you went?
No, because I've got now younger family members that are trying to get married, and the system's changed. You're not allowed a couple of numbers. You're not allowed
Do
to
you
be
know
a
what?
player anymore.
On this point, just the whole number thing, right? Okay, so I did actually go once to the goddaughter to go and give my name. And what happened? I went by myself because I was like, if I go with my parents, then we're gonna have to go and see other relatives, and I ain't got time for that, right? So I went by myself, and I started filling in the form, and there was someone there, and she started asking. I hadn't even finished the damn form. I was like, whoa, this is I'm on fire. I don't even have to finish this form, and this place is working. That was quite funny, actually. I didn't end up marrying them, but it was quite funny. Anyway, sorry, I disturbed your story. Carry on.
Yeah, I didn't want to say, but anyway. So basically, yeah, we both got our numbers, and I think I was forward, and I phoned him because it's not right that the girl phones the man, but I did because I'm not bothered about rules. And first we were messaging actually, and I was like, I really can't be bothered with messages because by this point I had spoken to quite a few people. I'm not going to say how many, but let's just say it's more than 10, more than 20, and a bit higher.
Okay, on this point, what would you call it that when you talk to some people and they're like, oh, did you date anyone, all that sort of stuff? Would you classify talking to some of these people as dating? Because just trying to like neutralize it for, I'm going to say the Western world, or a conversation that you're having here in the UK with one of your friends, for example, what would you call it? Because I've always found it really interesting.
I said that I was dating just because I wanted it to sound normalized, normal.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, yeah, I was dating, but purely to get married. And that sounds strange.
Even if you were only dating for like an hour before you said no, or they said no, is
Yeah,
that still dating?
that's dating. I called it dating. So I was like, okay, I've had enough with doing all the, hey, what's your name? Oh God, it gets boring
What's your
afterwards.
number? What's that
Yeah,
song? Call me baby, or something like that. Sorry.
yeah. So I was like, I don't want to do how many brothers have you got, how many sisters, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting bored of that. So I was like, just phone. So I phoned. And to be honest, it was love at first conversation. I know I'm going to sound so cheesy, but I knew that I was going to marry this guy because he made me laugh.
But
And that was the
oh,
thing for
come
me.
on. The listeners have heard a few of the podcasts. It doesn't take much to make you laugh.
Marry anyone.
Exactly.
What are you trying to say? All
Anyway,
right, so that's my story. What about yours?
what's my story? Okay, so mine's was a semi-arranged, only because someone that I knew also knew him. And then he contacted me over Facebook because we are a modern couple,
I was
would
going to say that's very modern.
It is very modern. Of course, if it was really modern, then it would have been a TikTok video.
God,
But
yeah,
we're not that modern.
that would be cool.
Could
But
have just
anyway,
danced. That would be
yeah,
pretty cool.
rather than doing the picture thing at the list, maybe there should be TikTok videos.
So going back to the whole love concept thing, I'm not convinced by that. And I know we stand on two different sides of the argument here. I don't think you can. I think you can be on the same page with someone, and you've got a bit of a click, which I think is obviously I find it really important. But I don't think you can say, I love this person. I personally think that love is built over time. You can lust that person, but I don't think it's love. Because there has to be that physical attraction, which that is that initial thing.
Yeah, but then I would say that grows with time. You love something first about that person, and then it grows because you love something else. And by a certain point, you hate that person, but you're so far gone into the marriage, you're like, I have to stick with this.
I'll just call it love.
Love, if I have to name it anything.
There's a fine line between love and hate. But I didn't actually think, oh yeah, I'm going to marry that person straight away. So I didn't have that. In fact, at one point I said no, and then at one point he said no, and it's like, well, okay, let's just say yes now. It kind of was like that though. But yeah, so that's how that was. And I spoke to a few people. I dated, if you're going to say use the word dated. I don't think dated is the right word. I don't.
But you had a vajula, so you had a middle person, a middleman.
Kind of, but the vajula still was Facebook. A very good silent partner in this whole thing.
And no one to get blamed.
Well, Facebook, only Mark Zuckerberg, but I don't think he cares.
That is true.
He doesn't care about the political stuff that he's brewing up, but so why would he care about this? I'm only joking. But again, on this whole point of what does attract you to a person? I mean, you said as soon as you had that conversation, you were like, okay, I'm going to marry that person. What was it that, so you said he made you laugh. What else
Yeah.
was it? Because like I said,
And
most people can make you laugh. I mean,
I think quite a lot of guys use is they let the woman speak and just talk her stuff and talk about herself. And then once you're married, they don't want to listen to anything. Like, yeah, I done my bit. So, but for me, it was important that my family approved that he was the right person,
why was that so important?
because my family is pretty much a jigsaw puzzle of me. They are parts of me, and if they like him, they know me better than anyone else would. So basically, I brought, he came round alone, and that
I
shows.
actually think that's a good thing.
Yeah, if a man comes alone to meet your parents, and he does it alone, I think that shows that he is willing to face
He's a
anything in life.
man,
He's a
is what you're trying to
man.
say.
And I know that sounds so sexist, but it is what it is.
So what if our family had said no, even though on this conversation that you had, he was the love of your life?
I think I would have still pushed towards it.
So you would have ignored what we said then?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was the point?
Just to make myself feel better that I listened to the family. But and also another thing, while you're dating,
Dating in what respect? Because you dated a lot of people from what you said, if we were classing it as the other type of dating.
Like the date, I don't know how you want me to, just dating, knowing that you're going to get married.
That is a good point, actually. So what is the definition of dating? What does that actually mean? Because is it, you think that there's a future for the couple?
No, I don't think so. That does not. Dating is just you go out with someone and you date someone. You can go on a date for one day, not one day, one time. Sorry, should I say? That is dating. It's not just because you're thinking about marriage, because not everyone's thinking about marriage. And throughout the process of finding someone through the journey, there were a few people that were just doing it because they're like on the lists and looking for a partner because their parents had said that they needed to do it and that they were at an age which was marriageable age. So they didn't really want to do it. And it's all about timing. I think it's important. It needs to be the right timing for both of you. For me, my husband, who wasn't my husband at the time, basically said that, right, we're going to get married in, I think it was around about 6 months. And I was like, no way are we going to do that. And within 3 months, we were like, yep, we're ready to get married. Pretty much.
So how long did it take you between that first phone call and then getting married?
So we spoke to each other in September, and then by March we were married.
See, okay, how long do you think someone should actually be talking or dating before they get married?
I don't think that there is a time span that you can give anyone. But looking back at it, not that this would be acceptable in Asian community, but I think when you live with someone, it's a whole new concept. And to be honest, not that I'm going to encourage it with my kids, but I think living with someone is a good idea. But hope my parents don't listen to this, so I'm okay saying that.
Why do you say that though?
Because then you learn about the person, you find out what their annoying habits are. You
Yeah,
find
but
out
then
more about them.
Yeah, but to be fair, with your husband, everything's annoying.
I can't disagree with that.
I'm only
So I
kidding.
wouldn't have married him.
I'm only kidding.
It would have been a deal breaker.
But see, I don't think that's true. I feel like literally the day we got married, I felt like everything changed. No, I'm not saying it in a negative way or a positive way. It just felt different. I didn't even remember. I don't know if my mind just went blank. I just don't remember what it was like prior to getting married.
Is that because you've got a bad memory? And I have seen through our podcast, you do forget a lot.
No, but I just felt like, do you know what was actually funny? So I've got, in fact, right now as I'm recording, there's a photo of the wedding on the wall. And I actually remember when I first saw him when we were about to get married, I was like, he seemed really happy.
Seemed. That's Nice.
No, he was really happy. And for a
You're
split second,
convincing yourself.
but for a split second, I was like, oh my God, he's way too happy. What is wrong with him? I think I'm making a mistake.
Oh, nice.
I was like, it's not usually like this. It was actually quite a funny thought. I remember that. I was like, this isn't what I am signed up
Because he was
for.
getting a diamond.
That's very true. And I got the diamond, so it's all good.
So how important do you think the diamond is to the whole marriage thing?
I like my ring.
Do you ever wear it?
I wear it on occasions and events, but I was thinking the other day I do need to start wearing more. The only thing I have is I always feel like I'm trapped. If I wear anything, I'm not good with watches or anything like that. I always feel like I'm trapped. So, and that includes my ring. And that's not to say, oh, it's about marriage and that's why I feel trapped. It's just I feel anyway. But yeah, in regards to your question, I think a ring is really important. I mean, it's a really good investment opportunity.
Oh, God, it's an Asian thing to say, isn't it?
I mean, the value of that diamond is only going to go up.
Depending
on how long you're married and you want to sell it after, like when you're hitting that.
I don't know what you're trying to say there. But basically with my wedding ring, this is so annoying. So my mum goes to me, make sure you don't spend too much of his money. So I bought the smallest diamond and the cheapest ring. I don't even know where it is now, to be honest.
He must be well happy.
Yeah, I was an idiot. Anyway,
he's a proper cheapskate. That's why you're married.
Yeah, when I saw your wedding ring, I was like, what did I do? And I go to my mum, you said to me...
Were you jealous of my wedding ring? Are you jealous of my wedding ring?
I was. Not now, because I don't think about it. But at the time I was like, but Mum said that you shouldn't spend that much money on, on wedding rings. And she goes, I didn't say that. And I was like,
my mummy says, don't spend money on wedding rings.
Pretty much. And then she goes, no, I didn't. And I was like, you're backtracking. But anyway, that's another story. Right, okay, so just talking about like our parents getting married. In our parents' generation, it was a case of literally the vachola, so the middleman, would introduce the couple, and it was pretty much that you would say you'd get married, because if you said no to the girl, it was disrespect to the family, and the community was really close, and you didn't want to disrespect the family, so you'd get married. Now, in today's society, you wouldn't do that. I see you're disagreeing with that. We'll come to that point. But in today's community, many people don't want to step forward and put couples together because the divorce rates are really high. And people just don't want to be blamed as the vachola, the middle person, for not finding the right suitable person. So these days, it's getting harder and harder for Asian couples to find people.
But see, I agree with the fact that it is getting harder. And yeah, no, I do agree with that. But even with the vachola sort of thing, I mean, it doesn't matter how long you're married. As soon as the vachola stuff's done, you're married. If anything happens afterwards, I mean, yeah, they might have sat down once. I don't think that matters anymore. Everyone's like, okay, well, if you couldn't sort it out then, like, what do you want me to do as a middle person? I think right now we're at a stage where everyone knows that if you couldn't make it work, you couldn't make it work, regardless of that middle person.
But the whole point of that middle person was they were the person that knew both the families, and they'd get the families to come together and they'd talk through problems. And these days you don't have that because that middle person is disregarded and they're not important to bring in, because we've come to a different mindset of, yes, you're old enough to make your own decisions. If you don't think it's going to work, then it isn't going to work. And people are afraid of being blamed, and they don't want to be that middle person. And it's a real problem in the community. That's why you're finding that quite a lot of a lot of us are deciding to get married later. But also the problem is we can't find people because there's no one to support setting up that what they used to do back in the day. And that's why it's getting people are getting older and older getting married, because they just can't find the right person.
But the other thing is, I mean, you say the right person. I think it's very tough. So the topic is marriage. So let's not only just go down the route of, arranged and love marriage. And marriage is, we're developing characters. What I was yesterday, I'm not today. I hopefully learned something new today, which has changed me,
Mm.
and so on and so forth. So we're all developing characters. And this is something I think, look, like I said at the start, I think if you click with someone and you have to be on the same page, and if you're on the same line, then you've hit the jackpot. But being on the same page, you can always get to where you need to. It's that compromise thing. And sometimes people just don't compromise enough. And I'm not saying this is with everyone. I'm just saying sometimes we're just not even on the same. We're not even in the same book, let alone on the same page.
I think women still in the Asian community still compromise more than men do. For example, let's start from the beginning of the marriage. When traditionally, and it still does happen now, the woman moves to closer to the man's family. All right, it doesn't happen in every circumstance, but it is still happening. It happened to us, and it's happening to other women still in our generation. So that is a really big compromise. They pick up their life from everything they know, and they'll move, and even across the world, they'll move to another country to be where the man's family is. So they might live with the family, or they might live close to the family. That is already, the woman is giving up so much, and that big compromise.
Yeah, and the other thing is, all of these things, and I know you're going to bring up other things where there has been compromise. I find it interesting as to how much it's appreciated. Because,
or what do you mean? Or not appreciated?
Or not appreciated more. Because it's always traditionally done. It's like childbirth. A woman should just get over it. She's just pushed out another human being, but get over it because everybody else does it. And I've always found that, especially about childbirth, a really bad way of looking at it. And it's the same thing of how much a woman has to change her life if she does move.
I agree. And it does affect a woman's mental health. And I don't think, like in the Asian community, mental health, still we're not covering that as a community. And a woman's mental health is so deeply affected when she moves everything to this new way of life. Because then if you're moving into the family's house, you're doing things their way, and you're as a single person, you're told not to mention your family too much, because the in-laws don't like it if you keep talking about your own family. So already before you get married, you're programmed into what to do. Learn how to cook, because when you go to the other household, you want your mother-in-law to think, hey, she can cook. So already all these pressures are building up. And we're always looking at how the community looks at us. And this community thing, although we've said it's not so integrated as it used to be, but it's still there as such a heavy burden, especially on female Asians and males, but female Asians, because they're meant to do things in a certain way. They're meant to look in a certain way, act in a certain way, bring up their kids in a certain way.
See, on the other side of the coin, obviously you've got the man's role, because apparently you get married to a man who, which is really funny, because if there's any arguments and stuff, you tend always to forget that the man's there and become a non-person in the whole thing, which I always find really funny when you're talking.
What do you mean arguments with who? As in
if there's
the in-laws?
No, if there's any if there's any arguments with in-laws, it always becomes really the man doesn't seem to be there, which is I always found really funny sometimes when I'd listen to women talking about whatever fights they had. But yeah, what is the man's role? Yes, women have that responsibility, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because hey, I'm a woman. I've done all of those things. I've moved. I've lived with the in-laws. So I've done all of this stuff. But then on the other side, what are the pressures for men? And are they equally?
I don't think they're equal.
I don't think they're equally.
The man's pressure is trying
to wake up and do his brush.
Yeah, that's enough. We're not hating men here, but basically for the man, it is trying to balance out keeping his mother happy and his wife happy, and trying to keep them apart as long as possible so they don't talk to each other. And that, I suppose, is a big pressure in itself. But I think that's all
Because you
there
live in the same
is.
household, so you're always going to see each other at some point.
Exactly. But I think that is the biggest burden for the man. But for the woman, it's completely different. I
But
don't.
don't you think that for men, their biggest effort is getting you to marry them, and then after that, it's all okay. I'm done. I've done my bit. I'm going to sit down and watch TV, and that is obviously not what happens. But yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's true. You know, when they say you marry the man and you marry the family, and in Asian families, it is you marry the family because your whole relationship is with the family, and the man is kind of the side bit, kind of. It is.
They turn up on the odd occasion.
Exactly. And traditionally, and it still happens now, the woman has to be the one that goes to work and still does the cooking at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how late she comes home, she's got to still do the cooking. If she doesn't, then you get the whole frustrations from the mother-in-law, and
But
then
it's also the pressures that we as women put on ourselves. And I'll give you an example. You know, like if my husband looks slightly slimmer than he usually does, and someone mentions it, it's a case of automatically this comes in my head. It's a case of, oh, what are you trying to say? I don't feed him enough,
that is true.
right?
Like, yeah, I agree. Because like when my husband, we go out and I haven't ironed his clothes. I'm like, oh God.
See, I don't do the ironing and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
don't. You're good.
I
Yeah,
don't even
and I
iron
have,
my own clothes, let alone his. Sorry.
but yeah, with me, if I haven't ironed his clothes, I automatically. I don't know if this is a pressure that I put on myself. What are people going to think that I don't keep him proper? Not that he's a baby,
Yeah.
but you do get that. You do get those comments from people.
But then is that actually something that we just put on ourselves, or is it actually something that that person would have thought?
No, because I do get the odd comments from people in the family.
Do you know what I remember? Actually, this is off topic, but it sort of popped in my mind just because you said, I get the odd comment. I remember I went to the Godwara once with my mother-in-law, and there was a woman there. I can't remember who she was. It was one of my mother-in-law's friends. She goes, "I'm going to translate into English, but it was kind of funnier in Punjabi." So she goes, "Oh, your mother-in-law's really nice." So I turned around and said, "Well, you're lucky because her daughter-in-law's really nice as well."
Oh, that's a nice one.
And
Yeah,
then obviously we
like
had a laugh. But yeah, so people are happy to say things. I mean, yeah, that was a very light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek sort of comment.
But it's funny, even in the community, people want to see that friction between the daughter and the mother-in-law. For example, I remember not too long ago, I bumped into someone that I knew from, again, just from the Asian community, and she goes, "Oh, how's your mother-in-law doing?" I go, "Fine." And it was almost like she was trying to find out if we had had a fight. Really, and this does happen quite a lot. And it was like, why? I think people feed off it. They want to hear bad that's going on in someone else's life. And I was like, no, we get on really well. And it was almost like she wasn't happy with the response that she got. And the conversation got cut short because people want to hear what's going bad with someone else's life. But yeah, that's just by the by. But other pressures, for example, I remember, so me and my husband, we just came back from our honeymoon, and we came back from America, and we missed, we needed to catch up on our sleep, and you know how much I love my sleep. I can fall asleep anywhere. We wanted to go to sleep, and then the guests, they decided that they were going to come round.
Oh my God.
I know. And anyway, and so we came downstairs and we had a, ha ha, hello, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, "Oh, so when are you going to have a baby?" And I'm like,
oh my
God's sake.
God.
I've just got married about a week ago. I've just come back from my honeymoon. And you want me to have a kid already?
Do you know what? I can totally have a go at that, but only because I accidentally keep cracking jokes with my Barbie, which I sometimes do not
So
mean to
your
do.
sister-in-law,
I'm
yeah.
I'm kind of that person, and I don't mean to be. So yeah, I have a bit of a laugh, but she probably thinks the same thing about me.
So this is where then you should learn the lesson, because so every week when going to the god rites, if I wasn't decided that I didn't want to eat too much, are you pregnant? No, I'm not. I just don't want to eat that much this week.
But then, okay, so this pressure that you're talking about, this is actually quite a common thing, though, isn't it? So literally, you go through stages in life. You go to school, you then go to uni, you finished uni, you're going to get a job, get married. And the next stage is having kids. And it's the pressure that's put on to women. And it's usually by other women as well.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, because they must have gone through the same thing as well, but yet the cycle's repeating. And I wonder, but you've just said it yourself, are we going to repeat that cycle? Because, yeah, bring up the odd comment about to your sister-in-law, oh, when you're going to have kids. So are we just doing the vicious cycle again and not learn? We're saying why hasn't the generation before us learned? But are we doing the same thing?
Mm.
Are we cracking those jokes about, hey, because sometimes when there's someone young, I'm like, oh, are you thinking about getting married? So I do the same thing. It's like it's the only thing to talk about. Oh, when you're going to get married, when you're going to get married. So maybe we need to look at ourselves and think we shouldn't be what we're saying other people are, and repeating the same thing and making those pressures. We're that community that's creating those pressures on that female.
Okay. And the other part of it is going forward, people might not want to get married, right? Because life's changing. Divorce rates, like you said, what is it? They're 1 in 3 now, from what I understand. So times are changing. So even that kind of a question of, oh, when are you getting married? It's pretty rude. It is. When you're having kids, it's a rude question. Nowadays you never know what's going on in someone's life. It's something
But
that
is that because of the way, do we think now? I know I keep saying back in the day, but if someone was asked that in our parents' generation, maybe they wouldn't have found that question rude. Is it our way of thinking that's changed? Now we're thinking those are personal things. You have no right to ask that because we're becoming more private. Whereas before, everything was community and everything was out there and everyone knew each other's business. Whereas now everyone's in their own little homes and no one knows what's going on.
But it's
So,
still, but again, it's never been anyone else's business. Even from then, like people might have asked that question, and this is where I think the difference is when a woman gets married in the good old days, she was the one that everyone. This isn't the right way of putting it, but hopefully you understand what I mean. Like, she was the one that people could pick on. She was the
outsider.
outsider. Everyone else were
Mm.
the vultures. Whereas now, women can stand up for themselves.
And I don't think the community has moved on enough to think, let their sons, like, taught their sons that a woman can be independent. She doesn't need to run around after you. I think women have moved and become more educated, but yet people aren't bringing up their sons to think, hey, think of this person as that can do things themselves and is educated. She's not just there to run around after you.
But then sometimes it goes the other way as well, doesn't it? We want to be independent women. We want to be known to be an independent entity, right? But don't you find it really interesting? I know this is going to be going back to the whole dating thing and all that, and we've touched on some serious stuff. I'm going backwards a bit. But what did you think about men opening doors for you or paying for meals?
I didn't mind it, to be honest. And I thought if someone opens a door for me, I thought that was respectful, and I did want that. So yeah, you're right.
So it works
The
both ways,
sex.
right? There is that sexism there. I mean, you can open your own door, so why can't you just open it when you're talking to someone?
Because then I don't want to do the whole big thing of, oh no, I'm going to open the door by myself. Because
The,
then that becomes a thing.
the other thing I just mentioned was paying for the meal.
Yeah.
Like, my thought on someone expecting me to pay for the meal was, well, I'm going to offer the 50%, right?
Yeah. It was a test.
It was a test. And if they took it up, it'd be like, oh, you totally failed that test. Whereas I remember with my husband, I didn't actually offer to pay 50%. And I was like, there we are. That's what I've been doing wrong. I have been offering that 50%, and that's why it has not worked out prior to this.
Well, yeah.
And instead, now I'm a meek little lady that can't even afford my meal that I've just had. And all of a sudden, I'm married. Okay, it wasn't quite like that, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, my one was.
He made you pay for 100%.
No, he didn't.
I won't past him though.
But I'm sure that was in his back of his mind, thinking, "Oh God, how am I going to get that money back?" But basically, yeah, for me, it was a case of if he didn't pay, I did offer, but if he didn't pay, that meant that he was stingy and he didn't have that much money.
Did he pay?
That he did pay, but that test was obviously really rubbish because he is stingy. But you are okay. I agree. We have got those. But I don't know. I think that's more to do with. All right, we're just trying to label it so it sounds good.
It's still sexism. You can either have it one way. Sorry, go on.
But I don't think it's the extreme of you have to go and move to someone else's house and change your whole life for someone, is it?
But you get my point. Okay, all right. How about changing your name? Oh.
See, the funny thing was, before I got married, I said I wasn't going to change my name. I was so on, I'm not going to change my name. And then what did I do?
Change your name.
Go and change my name. But when I changed my name, and still till this day, we've been married. We're going to be married 12 years next year. And losing my surname, I felt like I lost my identity. And I still don't really, I don't know, it still feels strange to say my husband's surname. But then now saying my maiden name, I'm not that person anymore. So a name is important.
Okay. See, I was the opposite because I haven't changed my name. But then that was because of work reasons. It came up higher on the electoral roll than if I had changed my surname. And then after that, when it didn't matter, I never got round to doing it. I mean, who wants to go fill out the passport forms and, all that? It sounds like a lot of headache.
It was, to be honest.
Yeah, so why do it? It's such a waste of time. Like, why worry? The only time that it does sort of matter, I guess, is when you have kids and they have your husband's name, which they don't need to, obviously, nowadays anyway.
So basically, women have become more independent and they've got opinions and they matter now. But I don't think boys are taught that when they're boys or men.
Boys.
Yeah. Boys, men are taught that by their mothers as they're growing up.
Yeah, but do you think,
respect?
You know how you were saying that, ironing, that whole thing of men are just men and then they need a new mum sort of figure. That's a bit of a weird way of putting it, but that's what they say, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah, I do think that the Freudian theory is correct.
No, don't go down the Freudian theory route because there's a lot that we don't understand about the theory. I learned about it a few weeks ago, so I was discussing it with someone, and it is totally not appropriate to put that into this. Yeah, the theory goes in a lot deeper than what we thought it was. It's just weird. Okay. But anyway, so we've spoken about pre-wedding. We've spoken about post-wedding. Let's talk about the wedding now. Obviously, Asian weddings are Asian weddings. Asians know how to have a good time. But they're big occasions, right?
Very big. I mean, if you invite less than 200 people.
200 people?
Yeah.
Does anyone ever invite less than 200 people?
Well, you do if you were in COVID.
Oh God, that was bad, wasn't it? Invite 6 people. That's just like, well, that doesn't even cover our family, immediate family, let alone anyone else.
So for our brother's wedding, we could only invite, what was it, 30, I think?
No. 15.
15. Oh no, it was 15. The amount of stress, I think we were more stressed for that wedding than we were for any other wedding where you could have free range and invite the whole world.
Yeah, but what was the reason? It's because you don't want to piss people off, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing. When like normal times, when it's whoever you can invite, and not in the pandemic, you would invite left, right, and centre anyone, the postman down the road,
I was just
the
about to say. I was
electrician,
just about to say the postman. Hey, we did invite the electrician and the plumber.
and we did because we didn't want anyone to feel upset that they were left out. But how much does the couple actually know these people? And then you've got the thing of if they come to the wedding and they give you some money, you've got to return that
Oh
money.
God,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
so you've got to remember how much they paid you. So when it's their turn for their wedding, that you can pay the same amount. So you're not in debt to them. And now the way that we done it was we wrote down how much everyone paid us, so we could remember. Sometimes we paid more, that we paid that money back.
But that whole thing is quite nice. So only because it's nice because firstly you make a lot of money, but the whole thing is because the wedding's gonna cost a lot. People are helping you towards that cost, and then vice versa.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
a good
quite a
point.
nice sort of way of doing it as well.
But it's stressful because if you lose that book that you've written down,
Hey,
how much
you made some money. They made a loss. I just call it good business.
But it's like, okay, oh, I couldn't go to their son's wedding. Oh no, I bet, how are we going to pay them back? Oh, when they have a kid, we'll pay them back. That's how we're going to return the money back. And that's always on your mind, how you're going to pay that money back.
Yeah, no, it is.
And
But going back to a comment that you made previously, how much do the couple know? Every other person in this thingy. I remember when I walked in, I was like, "Oh my god, who the hell are all these people?" And that is literally one of the thoughts I had. I'm like, "Oh my god, now would be the wrong time to run." No, I'm joking. I wouldn't have done that anyway. But yeah, it's on that point actually. Okay. So this has just come on a tangent. I mean, how awkward would that be if you got in there and you're like, "Actually, I think I'm making a mistake."
it's very highly, and a high percentage of people would say they wouldn't do that. They just would not do that. I don't think I've heard that many Asian weddings where on the wedding day that you stop the wedding and say, I don't want to get married.
Mm.
It would be embarrassment for the family.
For the
No matter
family,
how many, yeah, basically it doesn't matter how much you're having um, cold feet.
yeah.
Is it? Yeah. It doesn't matter how much cold feet you just, it doesn't matter if they're freezing off. You carry on with it. And you
You
get
warm those
married.
babies up. Yeah.
Exactly, because it would be, again, shame on the family if this happened. And oh, and wait, another thing. If the girl done that, it would be seen, what's wrong with her? Is she going out with someone else?
Mm.
Why is she stopping the wedding? Whereas if the guy done that, it wouldn't so much be questioned, even if he was an alcoholic druggie. Well, we'll brush it under the
I
carpet.
don't think so. That's not true.
I do, because men are given a bit more of an easy ride than women.
Nah, I don't think that's true. If a
All
guy
right, there
stopped a
might be.
wedding on his wedding day and everyone's sitting there is no way that he'd be given her an easy ride for it. Unless,
All right, he
actually, they
might.
might even turn it around and say, "What's wrong with the girl? Why did he turn her around?" No, I don't.
Yeah, see, I think it would happen like that. It would be like, what happened? Why did the girl?
No,
What
I
did the
don't.
girl
I don't
do?
think that would happen though.
I do, because there
Let's
is
test
that.
it out.
What, get married again?
No, I couldn't.
Stop the
I
wedding.
couldn't do. Do you know? Actually, on that point, I know we've gone off on so many tangents in the last 5 minutes, but I don't think I could do the whole, marriage thing again. It's so stressful.
It is, because you've got to organise your mendi, you've got to organise your night before, you've got to organise.
It's also the attention. I've never been.
I didn't mind the
No,
attention.
I'm not the.
I was bridezilla and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I. Yeah, no. I. Yeah. See,
See, you were really a really weird bride because you didn't even care what you wore. You could have gone to your wedding in rags and you did not care.
yeah, see, exactly. I'm not that fussed about. I'm more of the kind of person of what is the marriage actually going to be like, not the wedding day. I'm that kind of gal. I'm very forward thinking, I'd say.
Well, this comes onto the. Is that forward
I don't
thinking?
know. But
I would say then this comes on to question that Asian weddings, we spend a lot of money, like thousands. Is it worth it in the end?
well, if you stay together, then yeah. If you divorce, then it's a complete waste of money.
But why not just put that money towards a house or something? I know I sound so old, but why not invest that money? Or is it important to enjoy that day and remember that day?
See, I think everyone always thinks that now, with divorce rates being so high, there's always that question of, do we really want to spend that much money? But
People are still doing
I
it.
get it though. It's your one day. We can have a good
I
good
mean,
knees up.
I know that you say that I speak about going India a lot, and I haven't spent that much of my life there. But in India, they spend a lot of their money to the point of they're in debt paying for weddings. People commit suicide because they can't pay those debts off.
Whoa, what a Debbie Downer.
But it's true, and that's how big weddings have gone in India.
Yeah, no.
But I must say, reeling it in, that it's nice that weddings do last for quite the whole prep thing is fun. Look
Exactly.
forward to
When
it.
the wedding,
All the outfits and stuff like that.
yeah, when the
And
wedding's over, it is just like, oh, okay, what next? So it is a big occasion. And I don't think we celebrate life enough. And this is a nice time to do that. Regardless of if
well,
it ends up in no, I'm joking.
I'm not saying that we will, but I mean, for example, once the wedding's over, I remember like once everything was over the next day, and I was like, okay. So I thought I was going to be, I'm not saying that I wasn't on cloud nine, but I was like, okay, so what's next?
Well,
And
that's
in
why
my
the
mind,
guests were asking you about when you're going to have kids.
no, that was just wrong. My point is, I think because we watched so many Bollywood
Oh
films
my
when we
God,
were
not the Bollywood
younger,
films again.
we did. So we thought that life was going to be dancing and running across, I don't know, fields and changing loads of outfits, but it wasn't, because it was just, oh,
Changing, do
what's
you know how annoying it would be to change that many outfits?
I wouldn't have minded actually. But anyway, it's just, yeah, it's the next day. You've had this big, you're the center of attention, and all of a sudden, right, what cereal do you want to eat now? You're like, really?
What did you
Oh,
think
did
you were
you
going to
do
be the
the
next day?
dancing
Gold.
thing? Well, it's back to reality, because you're all the way up there planning the wedding, so stressful, and then all of it, you've done the honeymoon and everything, and then all right, you go to people's houses, you've done all that bit, and then it's like, okay, back to normality.
Well, it's life, isn't
So
it?
yeah, that's true.
Okay. So we're going to end this podcast here. Listeners, send us some wedding photos. What was your wedding like? How many guests did you have?
Oh, I wouldn't mind some wedding clips as well.
Some funny ones. You know, where the woman's lenga fell off, that sort of thing. I'm joking.
I don't think there's that many there, but any wedding clips. I love watching a wedding film. Clips.
Okay. So, thank you for listening. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, changing_suits, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.